The following program is sponsored by The Greek, Ely's Radio Shack dealer at 570 Altman in downtown Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Georgetown Media in Ely, Nevada. Ely Municipal Utility Board meeting, July 8th, 2021.
She's got to get up a little earlier if you want to get on time. That would be. I've been prepared for this meeting. Good morning. Line? We're online?
Ready to go?
Ready to go. Cool. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call to order Ely Municipal Utility Board, July 8th. We follow the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Chairman O'Flaherty.
Here.
Member Burbidge.
Present.
Member Ross.
Here.
Member Lilly. Councilman Carson.
Here.
Councilman Spear.
Here.
City Clerk Lee. Here. Public Works Supervisor Craycraft.
Here.
City Engineer Almer.
Here.
City Attorney Cahoon.
Here.
And that's all.
Thank you. Public comment. Comments not exceeding 3 minutes in length may be accepted from the general public in attendance. If they are named, there may be decision upon those comments. No vote, decision, or action may be taken upon the matter raised under this item until it's finally placed on the agenda. Comments during the discussion item will not be accepted from the general public as per section 705 of the Nevada Open Meeting Law. Do you have any public comment? Morning, George.
Morning, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, on your agenda item 3C2, you're to consider the recommendation to renew the lease of the golf course between the Ely Municipal Water and Sewer Department and Pipeline County for 30 years. That item needs to be denied until it is proven that they have paid for all the 111 million gallons or more of water that was used as reported by Councilman Jim Allworth at a previous meeting. How did they pay? How much did they pay? And did they pay any late fees? That has not been determined. Are they paying at the same rate that you have set for other like entities? I want to remind you on that contract, Article 12 says they must pay all fees and utilities. It doesn't appear that they've done that. I want to remind you that the city cannot discriminate in any federally funded or assisted public utility. I also remind you that the city has yet to rectify the various billings for me and my family. How many times do I have to tell you folks that? I want equal protection under the law. If any of you are golfers, you also need to abstain. I believe you have a conflict, and you shouldn't be discussing this item at all. Mr. Chairman, I attended the White County Regional Transportation Commission meeting held on July 7, 2021. I reported access to my properties on the 700 block. Great Basin were removed. Sewer connections to the 2 lots were relocated at the far end of the lower lot, 1 3-foot away from the property line, the other 110. Sewer connections need to be in front of each lot and not running 40 50 feet across another property's owner driveway. If I have to do any kind of maintenance and my brother sells his lot, I got to dig up 40 or 50 feet of the access. No. The Copper Queen was given 2 access to their property, approximately 12 feet apart. Yet they took my single one away. I want my access. I want to know if Great Basin is a federal highway or a state highway. I also would like to know if OSHA enforces safety rules and ADA regulations on federal or state highways or projects. We need to resolve this thing. Mr. Chairman, on numerous occasions I've asked for a list of those properties that the city has permitted and approved. The city has RVs parked on the streets, single lots, next to homes. They're connected to power. and I'm assuming they called the city to have the water turned on. Are you billing them for utilities, as you did me? I've got no answer. I have yet to receive a permit application so that I and my family can rent our properties to RVs as others do. It appears you're discriminating against me and my family. I want equal protection under the law. Your city clerk is not doing her job. It's obvious what's out on the streets, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, has our leader been notified that they have to move some of the power poles on Murray Street and the blocks where the new water and sewer lines are going to be put in?
Thank you, George.
I've not gotten an answer, and I've asked numerous times, Mr. Chairman. I'd like an answer.
Any other public comment? No other public comment will move forward. Consent agenda, these items may be approved in one motion by the board as a special action of business under for discussion possible action items. Approval of the consent agenda includes each of these items. Board members may remove any item from the consent agenda by notifying the board chair. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda of 3A1 minutes of June 10th, 2021.
I move.
We have a motion.
I second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Old business. Board member, Robertson Nevada Mines Company, RNMC, representative discussion only. Update the utility board, Robertson Nevada Development, development and water mitigation efforts within the city of Ely.
Mr. Chairman, I received an email from Frederick last night. I will not be able to attend tomorrow's morning utility board meeting. I invited email providing you an update on old business. I will be one of the development and water mitigation efforts within the city of Ely. Robinson continues to mine from the roof complex for his breakdown of water. The watering effort from the South Rock, we won about 7,364 gallons per minute for the pump. Our W7P accounts for 1,541 gallons per minute, which is sent to the city of Ely. About 3,362 gallons per minute is going into Gleason Creek. The rest is going to the mill for ore processing. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you, Frederick.
Very good. Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions for Frederick or concerns? Ask them. No issues? Public comment? No public comment in reference to this item. We'll move on. New business, Councilman Allworth, discussion for possible action, acceptance of the Tri-County Weed Control proposal to the city of Ely for herbicides applications on that portion of the Georgetown grants leased by Ted Higgy. Grants funded require a 20% match provided by Ted Higgy in the amount of $1,000. Very good. I see that notification. I would definitely support this. And it's good that Ted is willing to put up some additional funding. I see they broke down the costs. Is there any concerns or issues in reference to the cost of what they're proposing?
I have no concerns. Looks pretty good.
We have a motion to approve.
I move we approve.
We have a second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Public comment? No public comment. We'll move on to item number 2. City Attorney Manuel, discussion with possible action, recommendation of renewal of the lease of the golf course between the Ely Municipal Water and Sewer Department and the White Pine County for 30 years.
And so I'm on view Zoom. We received this renewal request from Mr. B for the White Pine County.
Who's talking?
King Manuel.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Crank up the volume there.
I couldn't hear you. Would you say that again, please?
A letter was sent by the District Attorney of White Pine County requesting to renew the lease, the 30-year lease. This lease, the golf course lease, was initiated in 1991 for 30 years and had an Article 2, a section of renewal upon request for an additional 30 years upon the same terms. And so that request was made, and want to present that to the utility board for approval.
Very good, thank you. That was better. We turned the volume up so we can hear you better, so I appreciate that. This pretty much looks like just a renewal of this, right? Same,
Yes.
same terms and conditions originally placed in 1991. Doing well?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. BJ has concern?
I don't know if that's a concern, I've got a question. In that lease, does it give the existing wells out there that the golf course in the past used for irrigation, does this lease provide them the authority to maintain and take care of that well?
Well, let me just look real quick. I think that's covered in Article 5.
I kind of thought it did, but sorry, I didn't get a chance to call you before this.
That's okay.
Keith,
Are the wells on city or county property? It doesn't make a difference.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I just, when I read through the lease, it did talk about the water, and I just want to make sure that I read it correctly, that the county, that this doesn't grant the county the right to maintain those wells for their irrigation.
Good point, BJ, because that is a point of discussion.
Yes, correct. I mean, I think it would be very important for them to be able, if they are ever going to be able to get back to do their own irrigation, it would be important for them to be able to maintain their own wells.
Yeah, so my reading of Article 5, it looks like they are able to do repairs, improvements, but that they would just notify us of any such, or advise us of any intended repairs or improvements, just to ensure that we're aware of what they intend to do.
Okay, I mean, that's what I kind of thought, and I think that's a good thing, because if they do that, they're going to have to obviously maintain those wells. So, thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
Was there a price increase on this lease, or was it the same as before?
I think the lease was still maintained at the same cost as 1991, isn't that correct?
Correct, it would be the same terms.
I mean, I would have a concern kind of with that. I think since 91, things have gone up quite a bit. I think the city would be losing some money. I mean, even if it's 50% increase, it's still not a lot of money. But there's no reason to leave even a little bit of cash on the table.
It's more like a friendly exchange, since the city owns half of that golf course.
Right. Understandable.
Yeah, you know, rightfully so probably, but obviously I think the county's taking a burden on this. The city's financially not losing any money on it. So if the county never really did the lease, the burden would come back onto the city. So thank God for the county for doing this.
Okay.
Do we have a motion to approve the lease?
I move.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we should have considered some increase, as Mr. Lilly pointed out. The city taxpayer, room tax, whatever, pays a good portion of those costs out there. The county spun off the golf course. It's not in their general budget. It's not funded through them. It's on the backs of the city of Ely. You gotta start being a little more fair, Mr. Chairman. Small token increase. If nothing else, just on their half of the golf course.
So noted, thank you, George, for your comment. Please note also that the city is reaping for the benefit of the water that's being pumped at no cost to them, so I feel there is a benefit to the city. So noted.
Your auditor says you gotta show true cost of operation.
Seems like we're the page and final process. All right. Very good. Item number 3, board member, city engineer Romberg, discussion for possible action recommendation to accept Murray Street sewer main upgrade project phase 1 and phase 2. BJ.
Chairman, abstain from discussion voting on this, as I'm partners with the corner of BCR and another business.
So noted, and I'll abstain because simple fact that I was a bidding contractor with the project,
All right, they're just wrapping.
I'm
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Do we have a quorum to vote on it then? If we have two abstentions?
We got two abstaining, so we don't have a.
Yeah, I don't think you have a majority yet.
Well, go ahead and comment. I'd like to know the comment, yes.
Okay, this thing's just in here ringing.
Turn the volume up.
Yeah, you might want to turn that volume down again.
What'd you say?
I'm not sure. Okay, that's way better. I have a ringing in my ear. They're wrapping up, cleaning up this week. They're telling me that they should have it all wrapped up and cleaned up by probably tomorrow, have it all cleaned up. They're cleaning, right now they're currently cleaning up the intersection down the Y of Murray and Mill. They got all that concrete and dirt and stuff, so they're cleaning that up. They said that they would come back in, that's a city lot, they'll come back in and gravel that lot when they get it all done and leave it all in nice shape or whatever. We did have a little bit of I didn't realize we had that big of a downpour because it didn't really rain that part of my office, but I guess we had a good downpour in a little canyon here. So they're up here this morning cleaning up a few things where some of that water basically run down the road or whatever, so that'll get cleaned up as well as a portion of that. And so what we want to do is basically come in here and try to final out the contract on this situation here. I got a final change order here that's set up based on anything that was added on or decreased or whatever. And also in this change order is they are over as far as their days on the contract. Based on what we did and based on some days that was given to them for weather delays, for things that they ran into on the project and everything else, we granted them basically about 9 days, I believe the number is, of additional days for things that they ran into and deal with. But overall, their due date, they were past their due date, and so including their 9 days that was provided to them, and they were 24 calendar days over the project amount, excluding the 9 days that was given to them. And so, to coming back in, there is a penalty for being late on those days. And so what I prepared here is a situation of a change order based on, the 24 calendar days would obviously include weekends and holidays. And so I didn't know if the council or the utility board would want to penalize them for the weekends or holidays. And so what I did is I prepared two, and one of them would be for 17 days of delay if we exclude weekends and holidays during that time frame, and the other one would be for 24 days if we did straight calendar days. And so the overall, how this change order finally comes out for this project is it actually is a decrease to the project. And so in the project there was some things that we were prepared for in case you ran into them. We definitely did run into them. We just didn't run into the extent of that we basically possibly anticipated. And so there's a deduction based on some drain rock foundation that would be going in there, some trench stabilization that bottom could be required, and also some removal of the existing water mains. And so when we basically add all of these up, and then we add on those liquidated damages as well, liquidated damages are $500 a day over a contract amount. And so depending on which change order the city would like to go with, if we go with a 24-day full calendar thing, this would be actually a net change of a decrease to the contract of $85,935. And if we go with a change order of not penalizing them for the weekends and holidays that they ran over, it would be a net decrease to the project of $82,435.
Very good, thank you, Jay.
Were these crews working 7 days a week normally, or were they taking weekends off?
No, they've typically taken weekends off. They actually declared at the beginning of the project what their typical work week was going to be, and they declared it as 4 10s.
Okay.
They declared what?
410, we'll work at 4 10s.
concern to this?
I mean, I'd like to say that if they're working work days, I think we should also honor the work days instead of calendar days. That's my opinion. I mean, it keeps it fair. If they're taking weekends off, I don't think they should be responsible for paying for weekends, you know, on overages, but that's my opinion on that.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you, BJ. Do we want to have a quorum on that item? We'll go to the city council for their decision. Public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I share the same concern. They shouldn't be penalized for the weekends or holidays, just the regular work schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Very good. We'll move on to item number 4, city department reports, board members. Chairman?
Nothing to report.
Dale?
Nothing.
Ken? I have nothing to report. Councilman Carson?
No, sir.
Very good. Public Works Supervisor and City Water Operator, City Water Sewer, Leadland, and City Landfill, we have the written reports. So noted. Very good. City Clerk? Very good. Thank you. City Attorney?
All the perks are.
Nothing to report.
Very good. Thank you. City Treasurer? Right here. And City Engineer. You should stay up there, BJ.
You need the extra.
I didn't want to hog the mic. I was hoping someone else could get up. I just want to, this summer, the city hired basically a temporary seasonal employee, and he's actually working out of our office, and he's actually out collecting all of our water valves and manholes for this GIS, trying to get a GIS system built up and coordinate with the county. And so I'm thankful for that. It's a very good thing for the city, and he's out there doing a pretty good job. And right now, he's actually working, I guess, from Camden Street, from Great Basin down to Murray here is where he's working at. So you'll see him up around Bell and Camden. He's already collected, a good portion of the terrace and portions of the canyon. He worked in the canyon as well. So we're just going to try to go a little section around town and collect these things. Right now, we're trying to get the bulk of this stuff. I think he is recognizing out in the field, based on the plans we provided, he's out there looking, that there is potentially a water valve or something over here that he ain't finding on the surface. So he's spending a little bit of time kind of painting something if he finds it, and then we're coordinating, and he's coordinating with Carl and his crews to go out there, expose that, get that to the surface, then we can collect that as well. So we're trying to be beneficial to help those guys so that they know where all their valves at, and when they're out there in the middle of the night having a water leak and there's 6 inches of snow on the ground, they'll be able to have a piece of equipment that will at least walk them really close to the general area to help them find valves to turn the water off and everything else. And so that's a great thing. We're also working with the landfill doing some of their permits are due renewal again here. I think it's in September. We're pretty much done with it, other than we have to create an exhibit because landfill is kind of the footprint of the landfill area has changed from the prior permit, so we got to get an updated footprint and stuff of the landfill that we prepared that. We're ready to go. And, Tom reviewed it, has some comments, and we're all good to go with that. The other thing, I did have a meeting with NDOT the other day going over, and what NDOT's requested us to do is to go back and forth and start working to determine what the costs are to complete all the rest of the phases that NDOT plans on eventually doing in town right here. And so they're trying to gather all the costs, so they get all their costs together to determine how they go about finishing out the projects. So those are kind of some of the main things that are going on. Questions?
Just one, BJ, on Murray Street, asphalt replacement, is that?
Yes, that was actually was at the RTC yesterday and was awarded, so that will be going probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. They'll get going on that. It's just a matter of gathering together all the bonds and everything else in place to go with it.
Project scheduled for this year then?
The project is scheduled for this year.
Very good. Any other questions for BJ? Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Last public comment, George.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I left off in regards to the concern I had whether the city notified Mount Power that they have to move some of the power poles on the Murray Street project in the blocks where the new water and sewer lines are going in. I want to remind you, in some areas, minimum handicap ADA passage is not available. There's not a 36-inch clearance for a wheelchair to pass through. Along other areas, there's only a 1.5-foot passageway for pedestrian to walk through without having to step into the street. This is a new project, federal regulations. You gotta meet the minimum. You're not doing that. I want to remind you of a memo that went out June 26, 1991 when I was mayor. Handicap access required on all corner lots, period. Another memo, September 16, 1996. State Highway put in a walkway for children to walk from the school down to the McDonald's. Did not meet code. The city attorney put a stop to it until they met a minimum standard that was conducive for both sides. You guys aren't doing that. Either you have rules and regulations or you don't. Stop the selective enforcement. Mr. Chairman, on numerous occasions I'm asked about RVs. I want to know if the Silver State has a business license. Paying utilities? I see vehicles going in and out all the time. You won't give me a permit, string me out, and yet you're blatantly looking the other way with others that are right in front of you. Mr. Chairman, I've yet to hear anything in regards to the 490 linear feet of 16-inch steel pipe from the previous Murray Street project. I want to know where it's at. I want to remind you that NRS 281 does not allow for a public employee or official from any special privilege. That pipe needs to go to auction. It needs to be accounted for. Mr. Chairman, I again remind you that the city has yet to reimburse me for the expenditure that I incurred for the sewer problem at 681 Parker. That was the city's responsibility. It was your line that wasn't the code. It was your line that caused the backup. It was your line that caused me to spend the money I did. All I'm asking for is what I paid for. Right now, you're at $8,746.12. The city paid for an upgrade on water lines to the tune of $60,000 more for property extended from from Loves to the old charter school area. That was the responsibility of the developer, not the city of Ely. On one hand, you're doing a sweetheart deal, and yet you're turning it back on me. I want my money.
Thank you, George.
Remember you told Jennifer back sometime to cut a check? Cut the check.
Just a point taken here from the general public. I suggest that if you're coughing, wear a mask. With all due respect for the people
It's
here.
air conditioning.
It could be allergy, it could be a virus. So, City Council, you might want to do that.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Any other questions, concerned? None? Meeting's adjourned. Oh, next meeting. August 12th. Thank you, Jessica. See you at lunch. Sounds good.
This has been a Georgetown production. George Chatchis reporting.